So I'm going to be working on making a mold out of this, which is essentially a little kitty sculpture that I've been making. I'll show you what I'm going to glue this to eventually. My bad if the camera moves a lot, it's not really super secure. These are little ID poles. I'm going to be gluing it there. But I want to make a lot. So it's time to make a cast. I'm going to be using Amazing Mold Putty. It's pretty easy stuff to use. This comes in 2 containers, and you're going to have part A and part B. And it's going to be putties in both containers. The idea is that you're going to have to get equal parts. Mix them together to create a mold. Now the working time for this is actually pretty fast. So once you mix them, you have to be ready to place it over your original piece so you can get a good mold. It's pretty sticky. I already have a lot of it stuck to my fingers. There we go. I'm staff long nails for this. Okay, so that's one piece. And now I'm going to get part A. Make sure to get these are pretty similar. I'm going to get a little more of this. And these look pretty similar in size. And I recommend if you have, get one of these little placemats to work on, because this thing does stain. I got this from the dollar store. You don't need to get something super expensive. You can also get parchment paper. Now once the mold is done, it'll look something like this. Now I like to label my molds. This is very flexible. It's really easy to pop out once you cast with resin. Now the original for this, I don't have anywhere near me right now, but I'm actually redoing it because this was essentially a small test of what I wanted it to look like. This is a lot. More like what I had in mind. My original design was way smaller than I intended it to be, as you can see. And the original piece that I made had a lot of imperfections. Now this specific cast, I was using Bombay India ink to try to dye the resin, and I did not like the way it looks. And I don't know if I'm gonna hold it up to the camera. I don't know if you can see. There's a lot of bubbles, and that was a result of the Bombay India ink. I ran a couple of experiments making at least 4 of these in different amounts of Bombay India ink, and I got the same result in all of them, but not with other kinds of coloring. Also, this one actually took a lot of time to dry. This was really sticky, past the 24-hour setting time for that resin. So this is going to be an old mold. I'm probably going to be using this only to experiment on new stuff, but definitely want to cast this again. So make sure you have this on a flat surface. At least for me, I want this to be flat. I'm going to make sure I hold it down. But you're going to see how this goes. I'm going to start mixing it. And once it's mixed, you really want to make sure you place it over. This is really quick setting time. Don't have the instructions with me, but I think it's about 20 minutes. You'll know when it's ready once the colors have completely molded together and you don't see any streaks. But it helps to press it like this to get it right. It should be already mixed. Now once you have it mixed, you have to make sure you roll it together in your hands and make a nice smooth ball, because any seams that press against your original will show if you do any casting on it. It's pretty smooth. So now that it's smooth, I'm gonna press it over right on top, trying to get equal amounts, and just press it around. I know people have different techniques for putting this. For me, I prefer to put it from the top and just press down, just because I want an even edge when I actually pour resin over this. But you have to make sure, in this case I know I have the ears, I want to make sure I'm pressing down, I'm not getting any bubbles there like I did with this one. I also want to make sure I have a flat surface here so that when I put the mold down and I put resin, it's not tilting over. I'll make it as flat as I can. Hopefully this didn't leave any air bubbles trapped. But if it did, you know, I'll just do it over. It's actually fairly inexpensive mold putty. I want to make sure I have, I'm going to try to get it rounded off. I'm trying to have equal thickness throughout the mold to keep it from breaking, or just to make it last longer. It's not perfectly. I need something to flatten this. Now if you have any, I use a lot of these little plastic cards. Whenever I work, it helps a lot. Now, what I'm doing here is I haven't prepped the original, but I feel like my original's smooth enough so I can mold it. But I also intend to test the difference between an original piece that's been treated and compare it to one that hasn't been treated. So this obviously has not. The original piece is an polymer clay mold that I did by hand. It's not sanded, it's not varnished, and once I do this mold, when I take the molding off, I will sand it, I will varnish it, and I will create a second mold, just so I can really want to know how it affects the actual resin. And I already tried that once with this. This is a little brain piece that I sculpted a while back. It was also for the same reason. I work at a hospital, and this is, you know, a little indicative of the area that I work. And I did try multiple casts. I'm sure one of the ones that I did with Bombay India ink. I also got a lot of bubbles in this. Lots of micro bubbling. But this was casted on a mold that was not varnished, and as you can see, it's a kind of a cloudy look to it, while the ones that I put on a mold that was varnished, much smoother results. It's also peeled a lot simpler. I used olive oil as a release for the mold once I poured the resin, and it worked really well. This, I think I just used plain soapy water. I did not have effects that I like, but if you can see, there's different colors to it. As I said, this was dyed with Bombay India ink. This was dyed with plain acrylics, and I really like the look of it. Fortunately, I didn't properly measure my resin, and I ended up with this kind of beveling on the edge. Not beveling. But I really, really liked it. I got maybe 2 bubbles out of the whole mold, and practically Can't even find them anymore. Oh yeah, there's one right there. But yeah, this was really, really great mold result. I haven't looked at the timer, hoping this will be done soon. I'm gonna give it another. So I've listened to 2 songs. It's gotta be about 8 minutes. It's currently 1:33. I'm gonna give it at least another 10 minutes. But in the meantime, I do want to make another mold for this, as one of my molds is already starting to go bad. Let me see if I have it here. This one's the first mold I actually made. And this worked great until I realized I wasn't properly using it. I wasn't using a release for the mold. And there's a lot of tearing in the details here. My lighting, I know, is terrible, but I don't know if you can see the amount of tearing in between. And what started to happen is what I was casting started seriously attaching to this mold, and definitely peeling some of it back. Became almost impossible to remove these. There's still some yellow residue here from the mold. Let's see, when I took it out, it all got stuck here. Not fun, not cool, but did this give me the experience, I guess, so that's fine. You know, you learn. This actually goes together. This is exactly, maybe I came out of here. This is my most recent mold, and as you know, you can tell, I've definitely gotten a little neater. I'm hoping pretty close to what I did here. This is the 4th mold I've done, but I've used this about 3 or 4 times, and as you can see, the detail's pretty great, and there's little to no ripping on the inside, which is pretty great. Looking forward to use this mold a lot. Alright, we got another 5 minutes to go. Here's another piece I'm looking forward to molding. Having some doubts as to whether I should mold it yet. This was done with Premier Air Dry Clay. This is my first use of Premier Air Dry Clay, and it was really fun to work with, but I wasn't expecting it to dry warped, which unfortunately is what happened. So I know that if I were to cast this, I'm definitely going to have some issues with the edges. Thought about maybe using an X-Acto to smooth this out and cut some of the edges out, but I'm scared of what that's going to actually do to the piece. Now, I'm pretty impressed with this. This is pretty hard. It's my first time using this. It's definitely a little sturdier than Sculpey Clay. I'm excited. I really like squid, so I'm excited to try this and make it out of different colors with resin. Let me show you, if you've never seen what Premier Air Dry Clay looks like. It's like sculpting with marshmallows. You can wet it with water if it starts getting dry. But you can't, I don't know if you can tell very well. There's little fibers there. It's almost like a pulp. Oh, this is a little weird there. It's just really weird to work with, and it takes details so well. This is mostly used for sculpting dolls